But okay, so now we're going to pivot away from the realm of DC, and we're going to go right towards where my former Play It Loudcast host here feels his most comfortable, discussing video games. And in
Sure.
this particular case, the crossover between video games and movies or storytelling, and what some people are saying about the future of storytelling. Why don't you
Yes.
tell them, Brett?
So they recently there was like this Dice Summit. It's like a game developers kind of conference thing that happens every year. It's more like an industry insider thing. But this year, Joe Russo, one of the directors of some of those Marvel movies you may have heard of, Winter Soldier, the Avengers, all that stuff. Well, not the Avengers, but the good
Yeah.
ones, Infinity War and Endgame, the really good ones. So anyway, he was at at the event having a conversation, and basically in a nutshell, he just said that video games are really going to be what dominates storytelling moving forward. That's where the technology is. They are going to be the industry that is going to really push us into the metaverse. Not really like Facebook or
Yeah.
these other tech companies like that. That's what it's going to be in gaming. And I just thought that was an interesting concept.
Hmm.
Mainly, what I just wanted to bring up was that one of the things that gaming is, if you haven't been playing games or keeping up with them, they're basically movies now, really long movies with a lot of a lot of gameplay, a lot of story, a lot of different plot points. But they literally are like Hollywood writers and TV
Oh yeah.
writers on these games now. At this point, the voice actors, a lot of them are actually doing facial or motion capture, and most of these studios now have these like big 360 motion capture studios that they're working with. So it really is like shooting a film at this point. Some of these game directors are basically like doing films, and with some of these new adaptions coming out of video games to film or television, like The Last of Us, that's going to be coming out next year. Neil Druckmann, he was the creative director behind The Last of Us. He is actually writing and I think assisting with the development of the TV show now. So like, there's a huge crossover happening. So much to the fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think even like John Favreau and like some of the Star Wars guys have used like Unreal Engine, which is a game development engine, and
Hmm.
they've used that for actually doing the volume on the
Yeah.
Mandalorian and Boba Fett and getting those shots. So he directs in virtual reality at this point in a 360-degree 3D landscape. So that's where we're at with the technology. And with games now, the interesting thing that games do that film does not is it's an interactive medium. With film, it's passive. You're watching, you're experiencing it. But with games, you have to account for all these different storytelling variations. A player might approach a situation differently or want to approach it differently than another player, and you have to account for all that. So these really crazy evolving narratives are really what's kind of pushing, I think, storytelling forward, just period. Like the choice and the ability to kind of like craft your story your way when
Yeah.
playing some of these big open world games. So I just wanted to talk about that, just as an interesting concept, get a conversation going. I'd love to hear listeners' thoughts and
Well,
maybe
I've
have some
got
questions or
thoughts.
topics for
I've
next
got
week. And
thoughts.
you know what? I'll hear from you too. Why not?
No, listen, I'm glad you like brought the metaverse into this because it's funny. Since 2020, my gaming habit has picked up a lot. And but it's kicked up in a very sort of specific way. I'm less interested in playing like linear games where I just have one main directive and I have to just get to the end of each level and then
Right.
I beat it. I love open world where I get to just sort of drop in and play the game at my speed, at my style, where the missions can be handled. How I get to kind of decide how I want to do things, and you know, there's like a wish fulfillment sort of escapism to it for me. Like pretty much everything I play is open world, and it makes my gaming in the last year really fun because at any given night when I feel like doing something, first of all, I always want to play something rather than watch something. So that's just
Yeah.
something I've noticed a lot in the last couple of years. If I could
That
pick
is me to
between,
a T.
yeah,
Yeah.
like sometimes there's like a great episode of something on, or there's a movie everyone's talking about, but it's like if I've got an hour or two to kill, I want to play something.
Yeah.
But specifically too, like all my stuff is open world, and it's a trip for me because I feel like I get to assume the role of all these different types of things. So, like, I get to be like, let's see, do I want to be Spider Man? or do I want to be Batman, or do I want to be a pirate, or do I want to be a cowboy, or do I want to be a criminal? And depending on what I'm in the mood for, I get to drop into this fully realized world as that type of character with all of their abilities and their lore and music that matches their thing and a plot line that has great voice acting and incredible dialogue and twists and turns. And it's like you said, rather than passively watching a story unfold, I get to be part of the storytelling. I get to really truly fully immerse myself in that story in a way that a movie or TV show just can't. So honestly, like I get where Russo's coming from with that quote, and it already is like, just for me, I can just speak from experience that like it's so much more appealing to me, and I get so much more pulled into games lately than I do with movies. So I think he's right. I think
Yeah.
there's something to that. Um,
I think part of the fun thing too, just to like wrap up, and what I think like where we're kind of almost in a way seeing the beginnings of this metaverse, for better or for worse. I don't even know
yeah,
how I feel about it yet, but in a lot of these games now too, like I said, choices. There's some of these games have morals now, branching paths, different dialogue choices that affect the outcome of the game. While you and I may play the same game and maybe hit a lot of the big major story beats, so we
hmm
do get to some kind of ending that is shared.
yeah,
What I love now is talking to my friends that were playing a game, and maybe we both played about 15 hours. So we're both like, similarly at a certain, level in the game, but then hearing like their adventure up to that point and like how they got to Area C, and
yeah,
then it's like, well, the way I got to Area C was completely different, and then
yeah, yeah, yeah,
there's this whole other narrative going on that is like a meta narrative of okay, how did you get to this area? Oh, I went through the desert. Oh, you went over the mountains instead, like, and having such a different experience. And whereas if we watch a movie, we're always going to have the same experience. The movie
hmm
is the movie.
yep,
So this interactive medium is really something special, and that is really where like what I think Joe Russo was saying, like that is where the evolution is coming in, and the stories that you can tell there that you cannot tell anywhere else. Storytelling's about to level up. The hierarchy of power and storytelling is about to change. If I
I
may quote
agree.
Barack.
Wow. Yes. Yes. And can I just comment? It's a little bit of a tangent, but
Yeah,
while we're
please.
talking about the games and the metaverse and the escape of it all, I think it's really cool that in 2020, when things were dodgy and we couldn't leave the house and we were all starting to feel like isolated, and I have to see my bros. I got to do something. I feel whatever. You and me and Rob and Jeremy and we would get
Yep.
online as our created characters in either GTA Online or Red Dead Redemption, and
Yeah.
like let's go be a band of gang of cowboys and go do some missions together, and
Yeah.
help me sell my moonshine. And we would talk, and it felt like we were hanging out. We're all on
That
headset.
in itself was its own story. Yeah, it wasn't a
Yeah,
story that other people were going to experience, but like we had our own adventures that
yeah,
night, and
and
we
and
had
each
our
of
own story to tell.
yeah,
That it
and you
happened organically. It's cool.
Yep. And you have Jeremy running off doing stupid things and getting himself killed. You have Rob thinking he's a badass. We have you
I have
spending
you
way too,
lassoing me and pulling me off a horse and dragging me
you
for no
know.
reason, stuff like
So
that.
yes, gaming is the future, everybody,
It is.
in so many ways. But